to kneel and to bless abundantly. You ever just get on your knees and you get to praising God and you get to blessing God, and there's a little rhythm comes on you. It's I call it a little Jewish rhythm, and you just get to praising Him and blessing Him. And pretty soon you're doing it abundantly. It's like my old pastor said one time. He said the devil was giving him bad time, and he said, so I decided I'd give Jesus 500 hallelujahs. And he said, when I got through, the devil still pestered me, and I told the devil, if you don't shut your mouth, I'm going to give him 500 more hallelujahs. To bless abundantly. Oh, hallelujah. And then there's Shabbat. Shabbat. This is for all of you that worry about it getting a little loud. Shabbat is to address in a loud tone. There's others, but then the last one I just got jotted down here is halal, which is in the middle of hallelujah. Amen. And halal means to make a show or boast, and thus to be clamorously foolish. Oh, I love my Jesus. hope that don't mean something bad. But this is just me worshiping. This is just me worshiping. Can I move it? Myles, shout. Figure out what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Woo! Oh. You make me see. Thanks. One of the things that we have to do in 2020 is we have to get things straight. The key to apostolic revival as yet emerges out of the midst of any ministry that you and I are associated with here. The key is to keeping the revelation that nothing is more core to that happening on a continuously broadening scale than the local church being the center and us not getting mixed up and thinking that that the church is an appendage to something else. Everything else is an appendage to the church. Amen. Whether it's our individual lives or whether it's ministries of this church. And so because of this church, I'm giving you an example of this. In January, Wilson University, a whole new area of ministry has blown up that none of us anticipated. In which it is becoming, I mean, we anticipated this was coming, but we didn't anticipate it coming through the school like this. And it is coming because of foundational work of others. And of those closest to us, it's the foundational work of Pastor Young and Pastor Steve Allen, and Pastor Johnny King, and one or two others, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 others. I don't mean to leave anybody out. And so we were sitting in a staff meeting, and Sister Anna Bowden said, I was praying this week, and I feel like God gave me a revelation on how to reach the nations of the world with training and evangelism through the school. She explained it to all of us, her and Sister Lacey and Sister Jill, Executive Vice President Jennifer, and Brother Brian Williams, and Brother Highland, and did I leave anybody out? All got to listening to this and contributing and working through it. And now, first of all, we are teaching 4 primary leaders in Kenya, where 2 Americans got killed this week. Attack from Muslim factions that's connected with Al-Qaeda. These pastors are baptizing whole churches almost every week in Jesus' name. And they're led by Pastor Samuel. There's more than 4, but there's 4 in the classes that they felt like was previous education was already at the point that they could take the graduation, the master's certificate program, and that they can get it. And they're very brilliant. And once we work through all of the basic issues, they begin to get it. And they almost to a man have attested that what's happening in our meetings now is increased significantly because of what the revelations that we've got in the work that is in the courses of the graduate program that would not exist if it wasn't for the church. And so the impact that you are making right now, and now we have 16 new Kenyan leaders on a more elementary, primary, beginning level, younger men who are starting January the 20th. And the program they're using is the one that Sister Anna felt like she got direction on, and that the whole staff helped to manipulate, move around, and make it work right, where these people can actually take their courses. If they don't have a computer, they can take it on their phone. It's set up in such a way. It uses Kajabi. I knew you'd understand it. You understand it about as well as I do. All the staff understands it, but I don't. Anyway, we need more Kajabi. And now, on January 20th, the last count that I had, there are 36 leaders in Mexico who are starting with their training. That's all this month, in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And now, in the last 5 to 6 days, there are 19, 18 Zimbabwean ministers and leaders who are saying, we need help, we're ready. And now we anticipate them starting in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And the reach is there. And Brother Allard is now the Global Missions, what's his title? Director at Wilson University. Brother Dr. Stephen Allard, who was raised a good part of his life in Africa, proficient speaker in French and English. And he said in the office the other day, and he just kind of blurted it out. He said, I'm telling you, there's a wave coming around the world of people that's going to be able to access apostolic truth through this school. That is going to be so big, it's going to blow our minds like we never dreamed of. It's going to be bigger than anything else this school is doing. Come on. But it takes the local church. It takes the laboratory where that real apostolic thing is working. We're in real life, where it's not abstract concepts, but where it's concrete realities in my life and your life, where we're living it and we're seeing the supernatural power of God work in us, and we're watching God transform people's lives. If you're new to the Rock Church tonight and this is your first time here, I want to tell you. First, I'm just going to give you a hug. We're just glad that you're here. I'm just telling you, God has transformed our life so dramatically. You want to stick around and find out about it. There's just nothing like it. And so the local church and what's happening, what's already happened through the years. You know, the devil always say, well, I'm going to stop you. You won't be able to do nothing. I'm going to be after you in 2020. Well, I got a little word for you, devil. You've been telling us that for 39 years. Now let's go back and see what's happened for 39 years. And that's already in the bank. So we're already shouting about that. And that is the foundation of our faith. That 2020. Oh man, we ought to stand up and clap our hands together right now. 2020 is going to be our greatest year ever. Come on, let's clap our hands. Come on, let's praise the Lord right now. Hallelujah. And you may be seated. I'm looking as Brother Arnold, his mama stepped out with little, we are delighted that, I can get this right, Chloe McKenna. Did I say it right? Chloe McKenna Arnold is here tonight. So if you see Mom or Dad Arnold hold a little, are you calling her Chloe? Is that what you're okay? If you see little Chloe, we love the Arnold family. How many love the Arnold family? Thank God for them. God answered some prayers for them this year with work and house and all that good stuff. God just plugged them in, and we love them very much. How many love the family of God? Amen. Elder Camarina, it's good to see you, sir. Amen. A man of God, pastor and bishop now in Lathrop. Give him a big hand. We honor him. I know he took the lower seat down there. I just looked and saw it. You should be up here sitting with us, Elder. Amen. Somebody, one of y'all escort the elder up here. We love him. Amen. Unless he don't want to. He's bishop. He do what he wants to do. Amen. God's doing a work in Lathrop. Amen. We thank God for that. Well, if you have your Bible, why don't you stand? Let's go honor the Word of God. Let's look at Hebrews chapter 12. Stand for the reading of the Word of the Lord. And I hope you brought your Bible, but if not, lean over by somebody and say, share with me. Or if your eyes are good, read on the screen. Amen. I want to say a big thank you to everybody in this church for a good year of 2019. As your pastor, I want to say thank you. I count it a privilege and an honor to serve you, and I'm looking forward to what God's going to do. As I told you this morning, if you were here, that I was going to kind of pick up where I left off. I told the story of the little boy and the preacher looking at the old lot that had been in town that had been overgrown with weeds for years and years. And a farmer in town decided to take that field over and turn it into a beautiful garden. And the preacher was standing there next to the little boy, and the little boy looked up as the preacher said to the boy, "Look at what a beautiful garden God has given." And the little boy said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, I know your daddy did it, but God and your daddy." And the boy said, "Yeah, but you should have seen it when God had it by himself." Amen. Now, I want that story in your mind, and I want us to read this verse. And this is vision casting as we are in the last of the season of spend and be spent. From the last year, as you know, we start again every year in February. Brother Rowley will be with us the first Sunday in February, and we'll launch our new season of commitment. We've been doing this for going on probably 30 years now, and we continue this. This is part of our culture here, and but I'm going to, in doing that, I'm going to cast vision for what I believe the Lord spoke to me over the last 2 weeks or so. So let's look at two verses, Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 22 and 23. Hebrews 12, 22. But ye are come unto Mount Zion. Everybody say Mount Zion. And unto the city. Everybody say the city. The city. Everybody say the city. The city.
of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels, to the assembly and the church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to God the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect. I want you to see the connection here of Mount Zion. He is speaking, the writer of the Hebrews, speaking of the church, Mount Zion, and he calls it the city of the living God. If you've been around the Rock Church any length of time under my ministry, you know somewhere we're going to talk about urban theology. We're going to talk about what God is doing in the earth. And futurists tell us that our world by 2050 will be 80% in the urban communities of the world. The state of California will by 2050 be 50 million people, they tell us. So companies coming, new neighbors, and the Rock Church is poised to be a light in that world. And I want to cast vision to you tonight on this first Sunday night, and I will give this sermon titled, Lessons from Vancouver. Lessons from Vancouver. You may be seated. Let me see the hand of everybody here. You have never been to the city of Vancouver, British Columbia. Hold it. Hold it up. For those of you that haven't been to Vancouver, you owe it to yourself to go to what I personally believe is the most beautiful city in North America. And I have traveled the world. I've been to a lot of cities that catch my attention. I'm a city guy. I grew up in Louisiana. I love the country, but I'm a city guy. And I'm intrigued by cities. I have devoted a large portion of my scholastic efforts in the realm of urban theology because I pastor in an urban community. I pastor in the capital city of the 6th largest economy in the world. We passed in 2015, or 2018 rather. In 2018 we passed Great Britain. California did on the economic power base of the world. And our church is in that city. Cities are very important. We know the Bible says that this all started in a garden, but we know it's not ending in a rural community. It's going to end in a heavenly city. And so I'm intrigued by cities. I like to walk around cities. I like to drive around cities. One of the first things I do when I get to any place, I have friends that laugh that I know where things are better than people that live there, because I got it from my grandpa Young. The first thing a Young does when he gets anywhere, we used to take out the yellow pages and get the map in the phone book. Now we do it on our phone. And I have been known to check into a hotel if I'm supposed to preach, and then I get out and drive the city. And I just want to know about where I'm preaching. And I found out on one of those trips I was in Tracy, preaching in Tracy, California, and I did the same thing. I went to the museum in Tracy. Some people don't even know there's a Tracy museum. And I found out that Tracy and Lathrop have something in common. Did you know that? You lived there and pastored there. Well, nobody in the church knew either where I preached. Lathrop and Tracy are named after the same guy. His name was Lacey Creighton. Tracy Lathrop. Now you came to church and you learned something. I know you've always wanted to know that. You need useless information from time to time. But I'm intrigued with cities. And this year we did something we have never really done. We took a number of days, Boston and Haley and London and Sheila and I, and we went to Vancouver, British Columbia, with all kinds of plans, and we didn't do very much except look around. And it was exhilarating and fun, and we had a great time. But I'm an early riser, and one of the best things about Vancouver is it's very drivable. And so I got out my Google and Apple Maps, and while the crew was still asleep at the motel, I was driving the streets and crossing the bridges and finding cool coffee shops. If you're ever there, go to Parallel, the 49th Parallel. That's a good one. Go to Symposium. That's a good one. I found them all, and I took out my Bible and just decided I would have Bible study right there in Parallel 49. And I had a lot of fun. And I was driving early as dawn was breaking, and was driving and looking at one of the most incredible cities. The way I describe Vancouver is if you could take the best of San Diego, throw away the ugly, grab San Francisco's best, throw away the ugly, add a little Tahoe, bring a few Rockies close, bring the beach up near with very beautiful weather and good restaurants. That describes Vancouver. Man, I feel annoying. How many want to go there? Incredible, incredible. And so I'm looking, and I'm looking at the mountain peaks across the water and beautiful skyscrapers next to beautiful Rocky Mountains, and watching as the float planes are lifting off, and that little radiation fog just kind of hovering over the water, and it was breathtaking. And I was thinking, man, what an incredible place. What would it be like to live in a city like this? Clean, friendly, well-designed, appealing, beautiful. And as I drove, this really happened. I was praying over the city. God, whatever you're doing in this city, bless them. Whoever pastors here, I don't know anybody. And God. And as I was driving, I looked out my left. I was over in West Vancouver, and I was headed to an area that I wanted to explore. And I looked out across the water. You could see back toward downtown and the skyscrapers against the mountains. And the thought from the Spirit was, I don't know how God talks to you, but this is the way He talks to me. He said, "You like that, huh?" And I was just kind of, yeah, it's incredible. And the Spirit nudged me, and it was almost audible, Nanny. And the Spirit said, "That's the way a church should look." I'm thinking, Vancouver, that's the way a church should look. So I started praying. I got to Delaney's coffee shop, took out my notebook that I had bought at Staples, and my pen that I had bought at Staples. And I took out my Bible and my phone. Tillich said you're supposed to read the Bible with a newspaper. See how it all fits in. And so I had my phone out and my Bible out, my notebook out. And I started reading about cities, and I started reading about, okay, if a city like this is what the church is supposed to look like, there's got to be something in the Word of God. So I started digging. And that's how I give this title, Lessons from Vancouver. Because as I begin to look at Vancouver, what makes Vancouver spectacular, first of all, is its geographical setting. It is literally magnificent if there wasn't a city. We know it from the Puget Sound at Seattle, and then that coastal begins to extend, and those mountains come down from the Rockies, and they meet in all of these waterways and islands and towns, and then they have built bridges, and this community adds on to that community, and it has been done with thorough planning. And as I sat there, I couldn't help but look at the amazing geography of Vancouver. But honestly, just as beautiful as the majestic Rockies were some of the most beautifully designed architecture structures sitting against the water. from high mountains to the water up the skyscraper and look at the buildings on the hill and the university out on the peninsula and the grand Stanley Park right in the middle of it that is literally a rainforest, and this microclimate that even in cold Northwest they can play golf all year long on Victoria Island. I mean, this is like a little spot of utopia, and it's a mixture of God and development, of creation and architecture. God and man. And it started clicking what he meant when he nudged me and said, this is what a church is like. He said, "But you have come to Mount Zion, unto the city." He called the church the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly of the church of the firstborn, which is written in heaven, and to God the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect. God's church, your Bible and mine says, is his city. God lives in this thing, Mount Zion, we know as the church. The church is the dwelling place. You and I, the church, are his abode. In fact, cities are named after people. Vancouver named after its hero. This city we're talking about is the church of Jesus Christ. This city is named after our founder. He founded this church, Matthew 16 and 18, upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Notice the word, this rock, as he stood there at Caesarea Philippi, as he's standing there at the fountain spring of what would become the Jordan River, at the very place of the God Pan, where children were sacrificed, at a place called the gates of hell, that was scarred even to this day by the blood and sacrifices as they worshiped the God Pan, that was half goat and half man. But here the Lamb of God, which would take away the sins of the world, would look at that geographic spot and say, upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail upon my church. I want you to understand that when Jesus established the church, it was not just upon a revelation, it was not just upon an ideal or a philosophy, but that moment he was on purpose at a particular rock. Understand something, God's church has a geographic spot. Some of you wonder why we're passionate about this thing called the Rock Church. This is the spot where God called this body to be. Brother Young, you're stretching it. No, I'm not. Because God has always intended his people to establish a place for him to meet with mankind. I know that the church is a spiritual thing, that we are the dwelling place of God. But understand, the way God works, he gathers a people. Not every church building has brick and mortar. Those churches Pastor Samuel is pastoring, some of them are not more than a few sticks leaned up against the tin roof, and they gather. But there's a place. There's a place of meeting where men and women gather together to sing, to worship. They come together. They geographically meet. And in that place, God meets with them. Upon this rock, I will build my church. The gates of hell will not prevail. Everybody say, my church is built upon the rock. Notice God said, I will build. It's his church. He said, I will build upon this rock. That's a location. That's a here. Upon this rock, I will build my church. His church is his will. So here you have, even in that text, keys to the kingdom of heaven. And whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth will be bound in heaven. And whatsoever thou loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Get the picture. Lessons from Vancouver. Even in the mighty text of 16 and 18 of Matthew, he starts with creation of what he is building. But verse number 19 is what you are to build, what you are to bind, what you are to loose. Again, we see the picture of Mount Zion, the city of the living God. God, the Creator, provided a geographic location, and man is the architect that goes and binds. Is this too deep on Sunday night? We are His citizens of His city. Our work. You see, a church is God and man. Do you get that? A church is built by God and man. It is like Vancouver. It is geography and it is architecture. I didn't establish the church. You didn't establish the church. Bishop Wilson didn't establish the church. Jesus Christ established the church. But where I come in and you come in is we become the builders, the developers of the geographic thing that God has established. And God's intention is to take the location where He has planted us for you and I to do everything in our power to build the church the way He would have us build it. Now, let me give you a little background of where this is coming from. I've traveled to many places in the world, to hundreds of cities. And I have been to cities that are in amazing locations, but the city is terrible. For instance, I've been to Tegucigalpa, Honduras, which sits in the mountains in a most beautiful valley that could be one of the most incredible places on planet Earth. But they have done a miserable, corrupt job of political powers that have done things for themselves, of violence and crime, and it has devastated that city. Now one of the most dangerous cities. It's not a place, even though it's in the most incredible geographical location, it is a terrible place. And then I have been to places that are in less than desirable geographic situations. But yet they've done an incredible job. I don't know how many of you, I know some of the older Bible quizzers went to Overton, Kansas. Let's just face it, Kansas is not on the bucket list to visit. But if you're ever having to go through Kansas and you go to Overton, you will see where city fathers and planners, it's a relatively new city, a new community, that they have worked very hard in a less than great environment to build an incredible community. Which tells me that there's a lot that goes into greatness, even beyond location. This is a strange sermon, yeah? But I want to talk about us tonight. I'm not preaching a conference. I'm preaching to the Rock Church on the first Sunday night that we're together. I believe that while I was there in Vancouver, God began to speak to me about our church. And God nudged my spirit. That's the only way I know to say it. I believe that the Rock Church has a special, unique, and great opportunity. The only way I know to describe it is if you could take that geographical spot. It doesn't matter how much planning they do in Vancouver, it's never going to look like Vancouver. But when it comes to spiritual environment, I believe God has given the Rock Church system of revival. And if you could just, in your mind, picture that Vancouver setting, and then in your mind kind of overlay the Rock Church, that's what I feel the Spirit was saying to me. Brother Zothman, Sister Zothman, you know what I'm talking about. You're from British Columbia. What an incredible place. I got to digging because I studied with the Bible and the internet. I began to dig what makes a great city. If the church is like a city, what makes a great city? And in 2017, the Echo City World Summit was held in Melbourne, Australia. I read an article by Paul James, and this shocked me, as these were some of the first things out of the article as I began to dig, because I had already been in this vein. I was already praying. I was already studying. And this is the quote from Paul James from the summit in Melbourne, Australia. Quote, "Our cities have now been named as the saving places of a planet in crisis. Your world leaders are recognizing that our world is fastly approaching dangerous turns. And the only hope for all of the things that are coming the way toward planet Earth is what will happen in the urban communities, because everyone is leaving, heading toward the city, because it is viewed now as the saving place of a planet in crisis." And as I sat there at Delaney's coffee shop, the Holy Ghost said, that's what a church is. It is the saving place of a planet in crisis. Rock Church, this is not a social club. This is not a place just to get together. This place called the Rock Church at the corner of Neiman and Bradshaw is a saving place for a planet in crisis. God's wanting to save people in Kenya from this place. God's wanting to save people in Mexico from this place. This is a saving place for a planet in crisis. Why? When we sing, we're not singing off of a to-do list. We're singing to usher the presence of a saving God into this geographic location to save a planet in crisis. Paul James went on to say, very disturbed, and I don't even know who Paul James is. But man, I thought, buddy, whatever you're dealing with when it comes to City Fathers and global planning for urban centers, I know exactly what you're facing, because he said, our cities have now been named as the saving places of a planet in crisis, yet we cannot seem to decide on the principles that make for a good city. My God, we acknowledge, he said, that cities are the saving thing for a planet in crisis, but we can't even agree on what a good city is. We think it's the saving thing, but we all want to fight about what a city needs. And I thought to myself, my God, that's what's happening in the apostolic movement. We are the saving place of a planet in crisis, and we can't even figure out what's right or wrong. God said, that's why you got to get it right at the Rock Church. Because I'm doing something that's bigger than just Neiman and Bradshaw. I've given you a unique opportunity. I've blessed you. I have gifted you. I have placed people in that body to win the world. You got to get it right, because I'm trying to save the world through the Rock Church. The world is changing. Cities that have been the centers of the world for hundreds of years are now falling behind. Technology, progress, birth rates. Now, only 2 non-Asian cities are in the top 10 in population. The world is changing. IBM and Microsoft and big tech have put their money Well, they put other people's money on what they call smart cities. So everything's about smart cities. They're banking on that. But the experts say it will reach a limit point. And others are adapting, as I begin to read. Urban developers are focusing on great cities will be based upon smart growth, not so much technology, but how they are laid out. But they have questions there because there have been great cities planned before that are now, to maybe your shock, Brussels, Chicago, Montreal, Toronto, and Vienna are now decreasing in size. Others are saying the real issue for a city is it has to have great livability. That has to do with the cost to live in such a city. But then the question is well, depending who you're asking who can live there. The list goes on. And the United Nations, as I begin to dig, have developed, quote, the new urban agenda. And in their new urban agenda, they have hundreds of principles that are all thrown together, new ideas and new thoughts that, honestly, these experts that I begin to read are all coming to the conclusion that they are incomprehensible because they are so large and the world is growing so fast and it's way too difficult and it's leading to more confusion as everyone's trying to find their specialty, but it's not going to work. But there is one, what seems to be an elite group that seems to have found a plainer and clearer initiative that has gained large respect in the urban development circles. It's known as the World Association of Major Metropolitan Communities. They have established basic guidelines for good urban development. And this will be the final portion of my message. They said the UN and all the others are offering so many things that everyone's trying to do. It's not going to work. But their deep research, thousands of years of human history, current technology, and where we're headed, they have determined that great cities are based upon 4 basic principles: ecology, economics, politics, and culture. And in my closing remarks, I would like to draw a parallel from these 4 principles of the World Association of Major Metropolises. Everybody say ecology. The ecology of a great city is recognized, must be recognized, and expanded and protected if it is going to be a truly great city. What do I mean when I say ecology? Let me simplify it. It means the environment of that particular area. The environment in a great city, there is, the experts say, a deep and integrated relationship with its habitat and with its environment. Again, lessons from Vancouver. Whoever the city fathers were, they recognized the magnificent, Brother Josh, you and Sister Sarah were just there, you know well what I speak of. They recognized the magnificent beauty of the Rocky Mountains and the waters of that coastal area and the grand rainforest there in what is a northwestern climate. And they recognized what they had to work with even 100 years ago. It quickly, because of its beauty, became the gathering place and was literally known as Gas Town. And it became a place of brothels and And in recognizing what they had, they begin to build with it in mind. They begin to strategically plant and build and grow and hold off, push back, build parameters and build walls and build protection and build places that match. We see our city becoming a great city, Sacramento. Let me talk about us now. We're known as the farm to the... What is that? That's our ecology. We are the capital city in the San Joaquin. I don't ever remember that term being used when I came here in 1987. But somewhere, somebody began to recognize we're the city of trees. Our forefathers in this city said that every time you get a lot, you're going to have to plant a tree, and we're the city of trees. They're thinking, how do we embrace this, the ecology of the city? And so, Sacramento is now recognizing where we are. With the growth of a Bay Area community that's well-versed in fine eating establishments, as they pour into Sacramento, the capital region, which is perfectly placed in the San Joaquin that can feed the world from this valley. We're the capital city. And as we grow, we're more livable. It's more beneficial. And so they come. And so our city fathers and leaders have recognized. So we begin to shape our thinking to match, and it's working. My question to the Rock Church is, do we recognize our environment? The Rock Church has a revival plan. I want you to think about that. This church has a revival plan. This is our ecology. I'm looking around this room tonight. We have broken racial barriers in this church. It's no accident. We live in one of the most diversified communities in America. We have been honored in our nation for our diversity in our community. And here we are. We are the church in that kind of city. It would be a shame for this to be a white church in Sacramento. It would be a shame for this to be a black church in Sacramento. It would be a shame for this to be an Asian church. This should be a church of all nations because this city is diverse. This is the capital city. When they walk in, no matter who they are or where they're from, they walk into this ecology. They walk into this environment. This is a revival church. Sacramento's the place where the gold rush started here. What is gold? That's potential you got to dig out. No wonder there's a Wilson University. This is a place where people came from all over the world because of what happened with Sutter's Fort and Sutter's Mill. Pursuit for hidden riches. The San Joaquin and its farming, feeding the world. It's no accident that God has Wilson University in the San Joaquin Valley, in the capital city of the 5th or 6th largest economy in the world. We would be missing the moment.
Right.
Lessons from Vancouver. They got it right. Rock Church, we've got to recognize where God has placed us. We are smack dab in the place that God designed us to be. Maybe I shouldn't have preached this. Maybe I should have taught it. But I hope I'm getting through to you. Everybody say ecology. This is our environment. We embrace it. We pursue it. We engage it. It's what resources God has given for us to make a great church. God's established it here. Now we develop it here. Number 2, economics. Everybody say economics. The Melbourne Group and this group of elite experts quote, cities should be based on an economy organized around the social needs of its citizens. In other words, what does our community need? How do we help our city? Helping people become. Helping people become. God has given us an environment of a revival climate. Now it's our job to do the economic things it takes if we're going to be that great city of Mount Zion, to help those within our reach. Our community, the citizens of our city, are lost, bound, addicted, searching, confused, lonely, in darkness. Where is our money going? A great city, they say, has to be connected. The economy of the city has got to be connected with the needs of its citizens. That's why when you go to Tegucigalpa, there's a lot of money flowing there. There's millions of people there. But the problem is, it's lining the pockets of corrupt leaders. And the money in the city is not going to the needs of the people. Can I tell you, Rock Church, when you give to this church, it's to reach the world. It's urban reach. It's Bible schools. It's missionaries. It's sending. It's going. It's building. It's teaching. The economics of a city determines whether it's great. Helping people become. The Rock Church, the flow of heaven's economy, should be strategic. Number 3, there's only 4. Everybody say politics. I know we've made that a bad word, and it's easy when politicians are like they are nowadays. Politics is actually not a bad word at all. It's just been abused. Politics has to do with the polis, like metropolis. Metropolitan. The very name police comes from those that guard the polis of the population. Politics is then the policies and the people that administrate the policies on behalf of the polis, or the people, the population. And the experts say, as in the civic involvement, the governing of its citizens, and the policies that help create healthy growth, safety, finance, and future. Can I bring that into the Rock Church? In this church, we believe every member is a minister. We believe every person in this room has a call of God upon their life. And every one of us have the responsibility of making sure that the citizens of this heavenly Mount Zion are involved. This is why there is governance, accountability, oversight, guarding of the flock, protecting the future. Policies, not only in the financial sector of this church, audits like we just had, complete audits that went perfect as the outside auditors came in and went through with a fine deep look at everything in this church. That's necessary, but it's more than just that. It's about not only protecting the finances you're giving, it's also about protecting the future of your family. Guarding the apostolic faith. Doctrines and parameters exist and are enforced in this church for healthy growth, so that the church continues and sustains families and future. Guarding the truth in this generation, so the next generation can experience the same love and truth and holiness of Jesus Christ. It's why God places in the body leadership, community, church efforts, those structures that oversee and stand with the citizens of Mount Zion. Not sprawl. Don't miss that. I know we're not running and shouting now. We did that earlier. One of the dangers to urban growth is sprawl. And sprawl destroys cities. It's one of the greatest fears of urban growth is that it turns into sprawl. That it's just growth with no purpose. with no production. And what it does, people don't realize, is how bad sprawl is. It's because cities like Manila, some of you know well what I'm speaking of, you have the city centers where all the economics and the finances are. And then that's where the elite class, if you will, that's where the wealth, that's where the money is. And it becomes very expensive to live. And they can't live there, so they have to move a little further out. But then that brings with it extra cost because you got to get into work. And then what happens, the city grows and there's not enough room in the city center. So the more wealthy go past the little area on the first ring and they go out here and live, and then they've got to get into work. And then the price goes up, and then gentrification starts, and so they move in and take over, and before long, it's further and further out, till then people, to survive, have to set up tents downtown to get to work. And it's easy to point fingers and all that as we look at the urban centers of the world, but we're seeing change in our community. And they say it's largely because of sprawl. Let me tell you something. Growth in the church is not always good. How can you say that? This is not a numbers game. I want the church to grow. I want this building full. But the last thing we need is a bunch of people to come in this church that don't buy into apostolic faith. For the young, what's your point? We want this city to grow. This city of Zion to grow. But we want it to be a beautiful place, a protected place, a place for all nations, for all people, young and old alike. This isn't just going to be some hip Gen X church. This isn't just going to be a millennial church. There's going to be elders. There's going to be babies. There's going to be babies crying over there and old people having to be helped out on wheelchairs. There's going to be new songs and old songs. There's going to be black people, white people, yellow people, brown people. We're going to do country. We're going to hear new hip hop. Why? This is a city for everybody. But we're going to guard it with our life. We're going to make sure that it's safe, that it's protected, that our babies can grow up and know Jesus Christ for themselves. I'm not interested in sprawl. I want everybody to be healthy. I want everybody to be safe. I want everybody to know Jesus Christ for themselves. And that's the only way it can be sustainable. And lastly, musicians come. The greatness of a city has to do with its culture. Everybody say culture. The expert said, I quote, cities develop an ongoing process for dealing with intersections of difference. Everything from the roads to the people. And what happens is the better cities deal with those difficult or uncomfortable differences is how successful that city becomes. I'm helping some of y'all with some senior paper right now. Because here's what happens is you get people that come from this culture, and they come from this culture, and they come from this culture. And if they can figure it out, and they can work together, the very blending creates its own culture. That's why you drop into the Big Apple, and you can tell a New Yorker as soon as they start talking. From LaGuardia, New York. Are you from Jersey? They get their own accents. I'm from Louisiana. I can tell when somebody's from New Orleans. New Orleans has its own accent. And they develop. I'm from Boston. Park the car in the garage. These accents come out of the cultures that are established. Where's Hayden? Come out here, Hayden. My little Brit. This is daughter-in-law, for those of you that don't know. And she was raised in, that was kind of fun. The Queen Lake, okay, is that and there's no place in the world like England when it comes to accents. And you can literally not be hired if your accent is not from the right spot. So, Haley, would you help us? She can speak all kinds of British accents. So, can you do one of those London posh accents? Like,
okay, so gotta get there, a little rusty. It's rather cold outside. You might catch a cold. It's a bit drafty in here. What do you think? So this is Birmingham. But
in Louisiana, or in America, it's Birmingham. In England, it's Birmingham.
So my dad's from Birmingham, and he would probably, like a common phrase would be like, but I don't curry. I said, a common food is curry in Birmingham, so I said, hey, do you want a curry? But I don't curry.
All right, you're from Liverpool.
Scouts.
Scout. Give us a little scout.
Right there, it's proper good to be in the rock church tonight. We passed that sound like from the church was proper boss, but got a bit of a cob on, like my head's a bit chocolate because you just can't ride.
Thus saith the Lord. Give her a hand, this is internet. And literally, Haley tells me that she lived in St. Helens. Can you do a St. Helens accent? Okay, give me a St. Literally, they have different accents like 10 miles away.
All right, mate, go up for a roll, give me paper.
What? All right, mate, I'm going to get my paper. Say it one more time.
All right, mate, go up for a roll, give me paper.
I was listening to a language expert not long ago, more useless information. Bishop loves these. He said every accent in America can be traced to particular places of the founding. He said, for instance, he said, take from southern England and you take a wealthy landowner, you give him or her that land and then let them describe it. And they would say, don't make fun of me, Haley. My mother and father have given this land to me. He said, you take that same English aristocrat and drop them in a humid southern environment and give him land, and it's the same accent, just slowed down. My mother and my father gave me this farm. I can do that one good. Nothing beats a rainy night in Georgia. What is all that? It's culture. There's something the Rock Church has that's unique to the Rock Church. Years ago, I was youth pastor here, and I went into a place, and guy asked me, he said, how old was I when I was a youth pastor? 23? I was 23, fresh from Louisiana. Y'all know I talk good. Y'all like my accent. You can tell I'm from Manhattan. I walked into a place in Elk Grove, and I was talking, and they said, you're not from here. I said, no. And when people do that to me, I really turn it on. You're not from here. No, I'm not from here. I'm from Louisiana, where all the women are pregnant and barefooted. But here's what was funny. They said, do you know Matt and Jenny Jones? I said, yeah. They said, they're from the Rock Church too, aren't they? I said, yeah. They said, you talk just like them. They're from Michigan. And then it hit me. It wasn't my language. They were sensing something that was on Matt and Jenny at Elbow High. When I tell you we're in a revival climate, and when I tell you there are policies in place for greatness, I'm telling you also there's an apostolic Pentecostal culture. We don't talk like everybody else. We operate on a different sphere. We're becoming a great church. We're becoming a great city because there's something brewing on the inside of it. Man, you get in a good city, you want to walk around. You just want to go visit. You want to pop into the tea house and the coffee shop and go wander in. Man, look at this little alleyway. And it's like the Bible said, walk around side. Oh, when people walk in the church, they ought to just walk in there. My God, I've never seen anything like this. I've never heard worship. Come on, let's look at these people. Look at what am I talking? I'm talking about the Rock Church apostolic culture. Y'all don't do church like everybody else. You're right. We do it Rock Church style. We didn't get how to grow a church out of the book. We recognized our ecology. We recognized we had an opportunity in this environment. We recognized this geographic spot that God established. And we said, all right, let's go to work. And look around this capital farm to fork, diversified place. And let's throw the doors open. And let's build this thing. And let's make it the most beautiful, great. Let's help people become what God wants them to become. I'm better because of you. Yeah, I'm not afraid to say that. I'm not a preacher lording over God's inheritance. I'm a better man because of the Rock Church, because in this room are incredible men and women. And God brought you here, brought your gift, brought your talent, brought your ability. You've got things I don't have. I've got things you don't have. But when we start working together, and when we start praying together, and we start building together, we can build magnificent, beautiful city of God. Welcome to Rock City, baby. I'm gonna give me a big sweatshirt that says Rock City. Where are you from? I'm from Rock City. I thought you was from Elk Grove. We took over. Y'all think I'm crazy. I am. It's all right. You are too. We're going to build this thing. We're going to grow this thing. We just got given, not we, Bishop, Wilson University was just given 2 acres in Kenya to build a Wilson Training Center in Kenya, on-site training. What's all about? It's our day. It's our opportunity. We recognize where we are. We recognize who our established founder is. And we recognize our part. God, you did the mountains and the streams and the valleys. We'll get a hammer and we'll build a building. We'll build this thing so big and beautiful. We'll pay attention to where you put us and we'll guard it and we'll protect it. And we'll see a great mighty city. Do you really know what's going to happen when word really gets out that everybody's welcome at this church? Y'all, it ain't dawned on y'all yet. Do you know right now there's a pastor that has 80,000 members that is begging to come preach at this church? He has sent 2 emissaries to meet with me personally. And I said, well, brethren, the Bible says to know them that labor among you. I don't even know what that man believed. So it was a perfect opportunity to give a Bible study. Y'all don't even know it, but there has been people that has been coming to this church that are movie stars in Bollywood. I was talking to Brother Narayan at the funeral, at the graveside, Brother Lumpkin. I was telling Brother Narayan about the actress that's been coming to church. Man, don't start looking and getting autographs. Just have church. You know why she came to Rock Church? God spoke to her on her trip to America. She didn't even know where the Rock Church was, but she had a dream, and God said, go to the Rock Church. Her daddy had never been in a Christian church in his life. He's a congressman in India. He came to this church on Sunday night a few months back. He asked me, he said, Pastor, I wanted to see where my daughter was visiting. And he said, the next time you come to India, would you stay at my home? I talked to Brother Narayan. I said, Brother Narayan, what's going on? He said, Brother Young, something is happening in Bollywood. He said, they have not come to apostolic faith, but there is an awakening taking place in the industry of Bollywood, where actors and actresses, because of what's happening, we see it in Kanye, and now it's popular, they're turning looking for faith. What does that mean? I don't have a clue what it means. But I'll tell you what, I went to bed Friday night, and I was praying for the Indian community of our city. Because everywhere I look, they're building Sikh temples. And everywhere I'm passing people from India and Fiji and everything else. And I went to bed and I started praying, God, what are you doing? How can we reach these people? And before God, I woke up and guess who had emailed me? Cal Burrow. I have not talked to Cal Burrow in years. And after praying, God, I know who Cal Burrow is. He's a lawyer in 3 different countries that pastors an Indian work in Michigan that I had almost even forgotten about. And he emailed me out of the clear blue. And he said, God is doing something. It's happening. I don't know what this means, but I'll tell you what, God loves everybody. And the way a city becomes great is how they negotiate the uncomfortable. Because some of you were raised in a culture that didn't like white people. And some of you were raised in a culture that didn't like brown people, or didn't like Asian people, or didn't like black people. And you came to this church and you got to figure it all out. The way a great church becomes a great church is how we negotiate all that uncomfortable. It's new for us. There's going to be gangbangers that have never been loved by a white man. There's going to be drug addicts that have never been loved by anybody. There's going to be men and women that all they know is hurt and pain and addiction. And it's not going to be comfortable. But a great church figures out how to love and move around and be patient. And they may say it wrong, and they may do it wrong. Culturally, it may be inappropriate, but you got to stay with us. We're building a city. We're building a city for every nation, for every tribe, for every tongue. The devil's going to fight. Hear me. I wasn't going to get on this. The devil's going to fight. The devil's going to cause you to sit by somebody that's got a bad attitude. God's going to have one of you black people sit next to a white person that's got a bad attitude. And they're going to make some off-color statement. Well, that's a color in there. They're going to make some stupid statement. And your tendency will be to get offended and quit. No, I'm deputizing you as the pastor to endure hardness like a good soldier. And say, bless God, I'm going to sit here like Roman Catholic. I'm going to be a part of this church no matter who tries to put me in. There may be somebody come from Punjab, that they come from an 80,000 member charismatic church that all they know how to do is the charismatic front. I'm apologizing for them. They're too stupid to apologize. I'm apologizing for them. They're not the pastor I am. I'm going to bow up right now. I'm the pastor. And you're with me. I got your back. Okay? But I feel the same way about that drug addict that walks in. I feel the same way about that prostitute that walks in. I feel the same way about that lesbian that walks in, about that homosexual. We're not going to mock, we're not going to make fun, we're not going to beat people down. When they walk in the door, we're going to look them in the eye and say, God loves you as much as He loves me. We're going to pray with you, we're going to love you, we're going to get you to heaven no matter what your struggle is. You can be the greatest child of God. Such were some of you. What Rock City is, baby. It's for everybody. We're rockers. Shout out, I'm a rocker. Shout out, I'm a rocker. We don't think like everybody. We don't act like everybody. We don't dress like everybody. We walk different. We talk different. We shout different. We sing different. And we give different. It doesn't come put it out. It's spend and be spent. You're the city fathers. Look at your neighbor and say, you're a city father. And we're building this city. We're building Rock City. Man, that'd be a good rap. Somewhere I'm going to have to create a rap about Rock City. Brother Wilson did the inside bling bling. I'm going to write about Rock City. The other day, about 2:45, I was driving down the road. They were looking at me. Where you going? I'm going to Rock City. Rock City! Hey, if you think we're going to win this world by an intimidation, by being bowed down and afraid, no, this crazy world needs a crazy radical church. Brother Young, you are crazy. I am. I like it. It's fun being crazy. I'm living La Vida Loca, baby. That's the craziest offering. Yeah, you're right. That's right. So, y'all got a song? What is it? Rock City? The best is yet to come at Rock City. Then we'll have to do a country version. Rock City. It'd be like a bluegrass hit. Driving down the truck, lost the dog and my wife, headed to Rock City. Y'all ready to give? If I sustain this long enough? See, you're giving us a city father. You're investing in this great city that we're going to build together. I believe God wants to help us fill this city up. I believe God wants to expand His reach throughout this city. I believe God wants to call missionaries from this church. I believe God wants to call evangelists. God wants to establish entrepreneurs and businessmen and businesswomen. God wants to raise up powerful students on campuses. God wants to bless you. God wants to lead you. That's the job of the church, is to help you become what God wants you to become. That's what Rock City is about. We're building Mount Zion, the dwelling place of God. Right by you. And God, I thank you. I am so grateful. God, and I say that with all sincerity, I am so grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this heavenly city you're building. I thank you for every man and woman that called the Rock Church home. God, I thank you for every man, woman, boy, and girl. I thank you for every ministry in this church. I thank you for everything you have done and helped us to establish it. I thank you for every gifted man or woman that makes it happen, from the leadership assembly to the ministry team to the saints of God, all of the parachurch ministries. I thank you for that. God, could you help us in this year, of all years most especially? Could you help us have clear 2020 vision of what you want this church to be? God, in my simple way of trying to bring lessons from Vancouver, could you let this beautiful body of people embrace what we can build with your help. And I pray a blessing upon every man or woman that invests in this city tonight. God, every effort of evangelism and outreach and growth and development, I pray and thank you for them. And I pray a double portion of blessing on them this month. In Jesus' name. Everybody say amen. Let's bring our offering to the Lord and let's build a city together.